Speech of the Academy head before the graduates. Humanity has been exploring space for more than a century. These explorations have brought both enlightenment and tragedies that made us wiser and stronger. The universe has only just begun to lift the veil of its mysteries. Our goal, our duty, is to study it completely. We continue moving deeper into space, where the stars fade into the impenetrable darkness. But we will not stop. Space is the final frontier of human civilization's development. And you, cadets of the Academy, from this moment forward, become explorers of the Earth's space forces. Your task is to overcome the dark frontiers. Chapter 1. The persistent buzzing made me open my eyes. Enough lounging around, came a voice nearby with a barely noticeable sarcastic tone. I don't know why our artificial intelligences were allowed to develop individual personalities, but it's too late. Without them, spaceships are no longer viable. Glad to see you're in good health, I croaked, coughing violently. A nasty greenish slime immediately flew from my lungs. I'm always in good health, replied the AI, unmistakably mocking me. It would be wise to turn down its sarcasm settings. Grabbing the sides of the capsule, I pulled myself up. Suddenly an android materialized before me, staring with empty glass eyes. God damn, I blurted instinctively. I have no mother, came the android's delayed response. It's a figure of speech, I muttered, taking a shaky step forward. I immediately staggered and almost collapsed. The android caught me just in time. You have not completed all necessary procedures, it said. Before I could blink, a cold needle pricked my forearm. Shit, I yelled as a burning pain shot through my arm. In 30 minutes your body will fully adapt and you will recover, Officer Mikhail, the android reported emotionlessly. A few minutes later I was standing under the firm streams of the shower, washing away the sticky film left after a long cryosleep. Gradually my body revived. My mind cleared and my muscles filled with familiar strength. If I could get some food, I would feel completely fine. You here? I called out to the ship's AI. Though really, where could it go? The ship was entirely under its control. Of course, the AI answered. Anyone else awake? 3 adapts and 2 genomes have been activated. You are their commander. The rest of the crew will awaken only after the successful completion of the mission. Of course, I muttered, struggling to recall the details of the assignment. It wasn't easy. Cryosleep had dulled my memory. If you already knew that, why ask? The AI quipped. I smirked crookedly. Lucky me, getting stuck with such a cheeky assistant. But why had so few crew members been brought out of cryosleep? According to protocol, the initial mission crew, those who start the mission, should be no fewer than 10 people, and at least half of them should be full-blooded humans like me, without any genetic modifications for space travel. Space had become humanity's final untamed frontier. The best minds had been assembled to conquer it, and it paid off. Earth had long since grown too small for us, so the boldest, the ones still burning with the spirit of pioneers, rushed into the depths of the universe. We had already colonized several planets, and yet my lot was the unknown frontier, called dark, even back in the Academy. We had not yet gone beyond it. I could have been assigned to Eden, a tropical paradise planet untouched by civilization. So far, we hadn't encountered any intelligent life capable of rivaling us. I slowly made my way toward the cafeteria. The long, empty corridor resembled the ribs of some giant dragon. I even chuckled at the comparison. How did humanity manage to master space so quickly in just a few centuries? Scientists solved the main problem, the vast distances between star systems. Each starship was completely autonomous during its journey because, in case of malfunctions, there would be no one to help. As they traveled, the ship installed special gates behind it, allowing it to overcome enormous distances. How exactly? They found a way to travel at the speed of light, but a new problem arose. At such acceleration, any living organism would be crushed by its own gravity. However, passing through the gates, the starship became enveloped in a special field that neutralized this issue. And the main advantage of the gates, inside them, the ship accelerated far beyond the speed of light. How? How? We pestered the technical instructor back at the academy. The poor guy grew tired of explaining the principles of quantum displacement, warp drives, and other sophisticated nonsense. Eventually, he gave a very simple analogy. Imagine a regular train and a train inside a vacuum tunnel, he said. The regular one faces air resistance, has to stop at stations. Dozens of things slow it down. But the vacuum train has none of those issues. No air resistance at all. I wisely ended that conversation, never fully understanding the core principle. To put it simply, colonization went like this. First, an expedition was sent to a suitable planet, set up a gate there, and then returned to report success. True, reaching the destination took an enormous amount of time. The last expedition traveled for 300 years. But now, thanks to the gates they installed, you could reach that planet in just a couple of months. In the cafeteria, 2 people, a man and a woman in light gray jumpsuits, were sitting at a neighboring table. At another table, 3 adepts in blue uniforms were seated. "Hello," I greeted them cheerfully as I approached. A commander must radiate confidence. The adepts nodded in unison. The 2 genomes reacted more reservedly, merely glancing in my direction. I sat at their table. Immediately, a serving robot smoothly rolled up to me. "What do you have to eat?" I asked in a low voice. Something clicked inside the metal contraption. "Only the standard ration," answered the mechanical voice. "I'll take it," I agreed. A tray with 2 bowls and a glass of vitamin drink extended from a compartment in the robot's body. In one bowl was some sort of creamy slop. In the other, a synthetic steak with vegetables. "What are your names?" I asked the crew members, looking first at the woman. She looked about 25, but with genetically enhanced people it was hard to tell. Genomes always looked younger than their years. They didn't age and lived longer than ordinary humans. They were faster, stronger, immune to disease, improved even before birth, in the womb. But no matter how much you play God, nature always finds a way to answer back. Genomes had a serious flaw. They completely lacked intuition, creativity, and emotionality. And it was precisely these qualities that were most needed in the unexplored corners of the universe. "Maria and Legat," the AI quickly whispered into my ear implant. "You could communicate with it privately." I noticed a long scar on the man's right cheek, clearly a seasoned veteran. "Legat, have you been on expeditions before?" I asked. "Yes," he answered curtly. "Where did you get the scar?" "Wound." "Where?" "On Elbrus." "What happened?" His one-word answers were starting to irritate me, but the question was almost unnecessary. Elbrus, one of the closest colonized planets. The first expedition to it took 117 years, back when gates weren't properly used. By the time the second expedition arrived, a full-fledged civilization had already developed among the colonists. Time flows differently in open space. Thus, Elbrus had its own political system. The planet consisted entirely of mountain ranges covered in coniferous forests and washed by numerous seas. Gravity there was slightly stronger than on Earth, and the climate was cool. Temperatures rarely rose above 10 degrees Celsius. The mountains were the planet's real treasure. Unique minerals were found there, a colossal source of energy that allowed Earth to abandon oil and uranium forever. The mineral was non-radioactive, and its deposits were vast. The Elbrus colonists, having become isolated, did not want to share these riches. The Space Forces had to suppress their rebellion and bring the colony back under Earth's control. There were excesses on both sides. The colonists even shot down a military starship, and in response, they were fired upon by an orbital cannon. There was also a ground operation where genomes particularly distinguished themselves. In the end, the issue was resolved. but a bitter aftertaste remained. More and more often, colonies and open worlds considered autonomy away from the loving care of Earth. So-called police raids in the colonies had become far more frequent. An instructor at the academy once bitterly joked, "It's a good thing we haven't met aliens yet. After meeting us, they might doubt our claim to being an intelligent species." At that moment, the three adepts simultaneously rose from their table and smoothly floated past us toward the exit. A cleaning robot immediately darted after them, its joints clicking quietly. No, it wasn't that I disliked adapts or was afraid of them. I just felt uneasy around them. Scientists approach the design of adapts with even greater creativity. They were created specifically for life in space. They were indispensable workers on starships and stations, the primary population of closed worlds. Adepts were taller than ordinary humans, slender, and much lighter. Their bones did not require a constant supply of calcium but were very fragile. Hug one too tightly, you might break their ribs. If an adept were to land on Earth, their spine would snap under the planet's gravity. But in space, they were perfectly adapted, immune to cosmic radiation, capable of living indefinitely in zero gravity. Their skin had acquired a turquoise hue, as had their eyes, without pupils. They say adapts can communicate telepathically, though only with each other. I don't know if that's true, but I understand where the rumors come from. Many adapts have a neural module implanted directly into their brains, connecting them to the ship's systems. They acted like assistants to the AI. In case of emergency, the AI could even use their brains as additional computing resources. Meanwhile, Leggett stood up from the table decisively. Maria, having barely finished her meal, also rose, leaving her tray behind. She was stunning. The thought flashed involuntarily through my mind as I watched her hips sway in the tight-fitting jumpsuit. "Your pulse has increased," the AI whispered maliciously in my ear. "From exhaustion," I grumbled, scraping the remains of food across the plate with my fork. The cleaning robot beeped at the scraping sound, evidently worried about the cafeteria's equipment. If it had been human, it would have given me a knowing smirk, I thought wryly. "Want to try?" the AI suddenly offered. I muttered. The AI tried to simulate a chuckle. "How's that? Sounded close?" "Not really," I replied, wiping my mouth with a napkin and finishing the drink. "You're not human." I got up from the table. My steps echoed loudly through the empty cafeteria. Nothing. Once we reach our destination, it won't be so deserted. "I can schedule you for training with Maria," the AI whispered. "And Leggett?" "What about Leggett? Let him check the equipment. Someone's got to. Or are you perhaps more interested in him?" "Your sense of humor is terrible," I sighed theatrically as I exited through the automatically sliding doors. "Ha ha ha." The AI laughed loudly and deliberately behind me. Our starship had only one more jump through the gates to reach the target. Ahead of us was the planet Cassiopeia M-34, located in the system of a blue dwarf star. It was considered suitable for human life. We were flying there as the second expedition. The first ship, Aurora, had made the journey and installed the gates but had suddenly stopped communicating. The Space Force's command had two theories. Either there was an accident on board, or the colonists decided to break away from Earth. That was why aboard the Varyag, along with terraforming equipment, there was a significant military arsenal and 500 genome soldiers still waiting in cryocapsules. If everything went smoothly, we wouldn't even need to wake them up. The AI kept its word. It scheduled me for training with Maria and sent Leggett to check the equipment in the cargo holds. In the gym, I lifted weights, keeping Maria in my peripheral vision. The girl, dressed in a black sports top and shorts, was intensely performing a series of jumps, legs spread wide, clapping her hands overhead. Her figure was flawless. Her fluid movements involuntarily stirred my thoughts. Maria was stunning, simply perfect. She had none of the fake affectation seen in some natural women who stuff themselves with implants and drape themselves with cheap jewelry. No earrings, no pendants, no rings, only pure green eyes, a strong, resilient body, and thick blonde hair. Even the light, barely noticeable scent of her skin teased and aroused my imagination. Of course, in practice, we merely trained together and nothing more. "What's wrong? Didn't get anywhere?" teased the AI at the exact moment I was washing off sweat in the shower. I even jumped at the unexpectedness. Felt like he was standing right behind me. "Or maybe your body's functions haven't fully recovered from cryosleep? Sarcasm is not your forte," I grumbled, turning off the water and heading for the locker room. "What sarcasm? I'm merely stating facts," replied the AI innocently. Entering the locker room, I suddenly saw Maria. She stood with her back to me, completely naked, slightly leaning over the bench, gathering her clothes. A wild surge of desire flared within me. But when Maria straightened up and turned around, I froze. There was no trace of embarrassment in her eyes. She calmly walked past me, not even acknowledging my presence. "Ha ha ha." The AI chuckled, this time much more naturally. "Don't worry, Mikhail. You'll deal with your problem." I clearly heard the amusement in his voice. I didn't answer, only ground my teeth. "Only a couple of days left?" I asked Brill. The adept had approached me after training as we were heading back to the control room. He looked at me with his large blue eyes without blinking. That unblinking gaze made me shiver. "Yes, our starship will need a couple more days at low speed to reach the planet," he confirmed. "We won't exit the gates right near the planet, right?" I tried to suppress the absurd anxiety brewing inside me. "Of course. Gates aren't placed close to planets. The ship's speed doesn't immediately drop after a jump. Typically, a jump positions the ship at the outskirts of the star system," Brill answered. "Right. We were taught that at the academy. When a starship exits the gates, it immediately cuts its main engines and coasts on momentum, later switching to braking thrusters. It's done to avoid crashing into a planet at high speed. At low speeds, it takes a couple of days to reach the planet." "Anything else?" I asked casually. Honestly, the AI already reacted flawlessly to my orders. I just wanted to keep up the image of a confident commander. Brill slowly shook his head like a spider sizing up its prey. "There is one nuance. For some reason, part of the ship's systems are hidden from us." He brushed the crystal of his neural module behind his ear. "The AI refuses to give us access." "We haven't exited the gates yet," the AI interrupted. "We're talking about standard cargo, military arsenal, and terraforming equipment." Brill shook his head doubtfully. "This is the first time I've encountered something like this." "Everything's fine." I clapped Brill on the shoulder to reassure him. He said nothing, but his expression remained troubled. Truthfully, I also felt a hidden tension hanging in the air. The next evening, a strange unease woke me. Cassiopeia M-34. Cassiopeia M-34. Where had I heard that name before? Of course, I had heard it repeatedly while receiving our mission orders, but half asleep, it hadn't clicked. I rose and stumbled to the sink. Splashing cold water on my face didn't help. The unpleasant shivering persisted. Too lazy to pull the jumpsuit on properly, I just tied the sleeves around my waist. "What's wrong, Mikhail?" the AI's voice sounded. "Why are you awake in the middle of night?" "Night?" I chuckled. "We're in space. There's no day or night here." "But there is a strict schedule you are obligated to follow." "You don't wear the role of a caring aunt very well," I grumbled. Leisurely, I wandered down the dim corridor and stopped by a large viewport, gazing into the endless cosmos. "My task is to maintain the ship's and crew's functionality," the AI reminded me sternly. I slumped onto a bench and lost myself in the breathtaking panorama. We were hurtling forward at unimaginable speed, but relative to the universe, the ship remained a mere grain of sand lost in infinite space. I watched a distant galaxy slowly and majestically drift among a myriad of stars. Huge, unhurried, and slightly arrogant. Its spiral arms absorbed smaller galaxies, and it seemed to me that relative to it, we were standing still. I've always loved the stars. They've always called to me, I murmured, more to myself than to the electronic ears listening. Sometimes I wish to soar into the night sky and dissolve among them, fly away into eternity. If there were a choice after death, I'd choose to drift forever among the stars. Wow, a philosopher is dying inside you, the AI responded with its usual ironic tone. Or maybe a poet. I ignored its jibe. The infinite universe devoured my attention, heart, and soul. The brilliant cascade of colors. Stars in space don't twinkle. They burn steadily, scattering the darkness. And you'd never guess they are just giant balls of gas. When hydrogen burns out inside, they explode into supernovas, dazzling even by cosmic standards. Bright flashes announcing the death of an old life and the birth of a new one. Cassiopeia M-34. What else do we know about it? I suddenly asked quietly, not fully understanding why. Besides the basic data, nothing, the AI replied. The first ship? Aurora, the AI reminded me. Right. I felt ashamed for not remembering such basic details. How long ago did it launch? 184 years ago? Strange. I don't recall a starship named Aurora in the Academy's registries. I strained my memory, but in vain. Maybe I missed it? It happens. Not all expeditions are recorded in open registries, the AI noted. That was true. Such missions were called lost ones. There were rumors that sometimes commanders became so enamored with the beauty and depth of the universe that they went mad, leading their ships to doom. Interesting, I murmured, stepping closer to the viewport and resting my forehead against the cold glass. What do you think? Is there intelligent life out there? Feeling philosophical tonight? The AI chuckled. I just want to hear your opinion. There is, the AI answered without hesitation. That surprised me. AIs usually only answered so confidently when they had a 100% evidence base. Without it, they always left a small margin of uncertainty. 99.9% at most. And now the AI had given an absolute response. How do you know? I asked, surprised at the AI's certainty. A simple mathematical calculation. It is impossible that among the countless star systems only Earth had the chance for life. Even within our galaxy there could be hundreds of such planets. Would you like me to give you a simpler analogy? Sure, I smirked. I'm a master of understanding simple analogies. If you walk 1,000 kilometers on Earth, you are bound to meet some form of life. It might not be intelligent, maybe a bacterium, an insect, or an animal, but it will be life. The same applies to space. If you travel millions of light years, you are certain to find some form of life. It might be so small and inconspicuous that it would be easy to overlook. Moreover, just because no one talks to you doesn't mean no one is there. Perhaps they simply don't consider you a worthy conversation partner. A very reasonable explanation, I admitted. Naturally. After all, my level of intelligence surpasses yours, the AI added after a second's pause, as well as that of other humans. Self-confidence and arrogance were never lacking in it, but then it suddenly changed tone. However, there's another problem. What problem? I asked, genuinely interested. Distances. Perhaps there is intelligent life in that distant galaxy, but even with our current technology, reaching it is practically impossible. You can only observe each other from afar and guess whether intelligence exists or not. Meeting each other is impossible. Don't be such a pessimist, my friend, I muttered. I mean something else. By the time you traveled to meet each other, either humanity would have ceased to exist as a civilization, or they would, the AI said, as cold and sharp as a scalpel. Damn. He really knew how to crush the mood. We are not meant to understand the mind of the creator of this world. Huh? You actually believe in that nonsense? The AI's voice dripped with contempt. Although, maybe that same mind did create this. What do you mean? Scattered intelligent life across different corners of the universe so that you would never meet. I froze, stunned by the idea. Maybe it's you who should have been a philosopher, I parried. Ha ha. The AI chuckled, this time with the proper intonation. By the way, I have a guess about why you're so restless. Enlighten me. Sexual frustration. And I have 2 solutions for your problem. First, inhibitors that suppress sexual instinct. Immediately no, I cut him off. Why not? I actually kind of like this elevated mood, I joked weakly. Second option, an android for physical pleasure. I burst out laughing. You're offering me a silicon doll? This model is indistinguishable from a real human. He can even hold a conversation if necessary and fulfill any of your wishes. However, it needs to be activated. Such models are intended for long expeditions. So it's shared among the crew? I laughed even harder. Don't worry, I'll manage. Oh, I'll be curious to observe your moral downfall when you finally use your authority as commander. The AI chuckled. Finally, I glanced once more at the stars outside the viewport and returned to my cabin. We were all assembled in the control room. The adapts worked quickly and efficiently. Their hands flew over the panels while their neural modules managed additional systems. I noticed Brill occasionally shaking his head, obviously still troubled by the AI's restrictions on system access. Legat and Maria remained calm and confident. No surprise there. It seemed I was the only one feeling an inexplicable sense of hidden threat. Where was it coming from? Attention. Preparing to exit the gates, the AI announced in an official tone. The large screen flickered, showing a blurry image with indistinct spots. After a few seconds, we saw the star system housing Cassiopeia M-34. The blue dwarf shone brightly in the distance. Somewhere out there. Our target planet and the Aurora. The system was poor in planets. Besides the habitable one, there were only 2 small rocky planets and wide asteroid belts. Brill, establish contact with Aurora, I ordered. Signal sent, he replied. We had to wait a couple of minutes for the response. Meanwhile, Varyag coasted through the thin cosmic dust, continuing its silent advance. Relax. Everything will be fine, a soft, calming voice whispered near my ear. I jerked upright, glancing around. Who said that? The adapts worked silently at their consoles. Legat and Maria remained frozen at their stations, and the android's face stayed expressionless. What's wrong, Officer Mikhail? The AI asked dryly. Experiencing discomfort? Disorientation after the gate transition is normal. It will pass soon. I know, I snapped. What unsettled me wasn't the transition. It was that voice. It sounded vaguely familiar. At that moment, the braking engines engaged. The ship began to slow down smoothly. Aurora is not responding, Brill reported, his eyes glued to the indicators. Is the ship visible on radar? Brill's face grew concerned. Radar shows an object near Cassiopeia, but what, Brill? If it received our signal, the friend or foe code is active. That means it's our ship. I cut him off. But still, the data is a bit... Brill hesitated, shaking his head uncertainly. Could there be other ships here? I stared at him sharply. The adapt's turquoise eyes widened slightly. Logically, no. Then there can be no other ships here, I concluded firmly, shutting down further discussion. Still, a dull headache began to gnaw at me. Consequences of the gate transition? Were the others feeling it too? Though adapts were used to space, and the 2 genomes, enhanced humans, should feel nothing at all. I'm leaving a beacon near the gates, the AI informed. Good idea, I agreed. Meanwhile, the pain in my temples intensified, as if invisible vices were tightening around my skull. AI, take control, I ordered, grimacing. Confirmed, replied the AI. I rose from my chair. I had to reach the medbay. Passing the adapts, I noticed one of them, Veryl, staring at me intently. The sapphire crystal of his neural module glowed with an alarmingly bright blue light. With each step, the pain in my head grew stronger. Damn it, the AI could have sent the medical android instead of letting me suffer. I cursed the damn machine under my breath. I barely made it to the medbay, gleaming sterile white, before the blinding lights hit my eyes. I squinted against the sting. There, the medicine racks. Back at the academy, we were taught about one handy solution, a universal vaccine for all cases. It blocks pain sensations until a proper diagnosis is made. My hands shook. I tried to load the capsule into the injector, but a wave of unbearable pain split my brain. I cried out. Darkness clouded my vision, and collapsed to my knees. There was a crunch. The capsule slipped and crushed under my weight. Damn it. The pain kept coming in waves, hammering inside my skull. Trembling, I grabbed another capsule and loaded it into the injector. Another surge of pain, even worse than before. With the last ounce of strength, I jammed the injector against my neck. I barely felt the sting of the needle against my skin before pulling the trigger. There was a click, and the world around me went black. "They are so beautiful," a tender female voice whispered. "And you are more beautiful than all the stars, Liz." I heard my own voice answer, and was surprised by the words. "Mikhail." A girl's embarrassed giggle sounded. Such an old-fashioned compliment. Nobody talks like that anymore, not since we set out into space. "I can't help it. I'm old-fashioned," my voice said. Liz. Who was Liz? Why did her voice stir such deep emotion in me? Why did it feel so terrifyingly real, even through the haze? "Mikhail," another voice called, sharp and clear. "Wake up!" I jerked my eyes open. White ceiling, the smell of medicine. I was in the medbay. "Yes," the AI confirmed. "The android found you. Actually, it was following you after you ran from the control room down the corridor." "Ran, really?" I muttered, sitting up. The pain was gone. Opposite me stood the same android. "Indeed," it confirmed. "You were moving rather fast. Then I found you here unconscious. I must note, you nearly killed yourself with the injector." "How?" I carefully touched my neck where I had administered the shot. The skin was sore but already covered by a healing patch. A couple of days, and not a trace would remain. The needle could have pierced your throat. The android demonstrated the injector gun with the long, sharp needle still loaded. One strong push, and it could have gone right through. What happened to me? This question concerned me far more than hypothetical death. "Diagnostics found no abnormalities," the AI replied. "None?" The news didn't exactly shock me, but it unsettled me. "Nothing at all. Then what happened?" "I have no data." The AI would have shrugged if it had shoulders. "You are in perfect condition." What the hell? "All right. Estimated time to arrival?" I switched to a business-like tone, trying to demonstrate that the commander was in control again. "We are already close to the destination." "What?" "But you said it would take—" "Mikhail, you were unconscious for 1.5 Earth days," the AI interrupted bluntly. I must have looked like an absolute fool. Silently, I absorbed this information. "Understood," I finally said slowly. "Is contact with the Aurora established?" "As for the Aurora, I think you should get a full briefing once you've fully recovered," the AI answered evasively. "More secrets." I narrowed my eyes suspiciously. Throwing off the jumpsuit, I stepped into the cool shower. The water quickly brought me to my senses. My head cleared completely. I'd been unconscious too long. A mixture of annoyance and anger stirred inside me. I punched the wall a few times and slapped my own cheeks. Pull yourself together. Why had I fallen apart like this? And what was the AI hiding? An AI, which should obey the ship's commander, now acted far too independently. No. It was time to take control back. Turning off the water, I approached the fogged mirror and wiped it with my hand, and froze. Behind me, a shadow. I saw the silhouette of a woman with long black hair reflected in the mirror. I spun around sharply, my neck cracked with the sudden movement. No one, and there couldn't have been. The AI was obligated to report any activation of additional crew members. No, it had to be a hallucination. Or my mind playing tricks on me. What the hell was going on? And it wasn't just Gate After Effects anymore. That dark-haired woman, Liz. I hadn't seen her face clearly, but her figure. It was familiar. And the voice. It was her. Focus, I whispered to myself, heavily exhaling. Hurriedly pulling on a clean jumpsuit, I marched down the empty corridors to the control room. While walking, I kept glancing back, feeling as though someone was silently pacing beside me. Was I losing my mind? Entering the control room with a confident stride, I took the commander's seat. The adepts looked at me with their strange turquoise eyes. So, what's the situation? I asked, raising my gaze to the main monitor. My heart skipped a beat at the sight outside the ship. The blue dwarf, the planet shrouded in dense dark clouds flashing with giant lightning bolts. 3 moons orbiting it. I had seen this before. I was absolutely sure of it. But I couldn't possibly have been here before. Mikhail, the AI called. What? Should I repeat? The AI clearly noticed I hadn't been listening. Clarify, I said, trying to hide my confusion. The AI repeated. The ship in orbit around Cassiopeia does not match the external parameters of Aurora, but it responds to our signals. It uses our identification codes. How is that possible? I was shaken to the core. Is that the only thing that concerns you? The AI asked coldly. Its tone immediately sobered me. In the planet's orbit, an unknown ship. Unknown in the truest sense. Extraterrestrial. Had we finally encountered another civilization? Thoughts raced feverishly through my mind. First, I should immediately alert Earth, but a doubt crept in. They're using our identification codes. So maybe it's still Aurora? I said aloud, deliberately involving the others. We ran an initial analysis. One of the adepts, Varyag, replied. The AI supplied his name into my implant. Varyag leaned over the holographic screen, expertly manipulating floating diagrams. His sapphire module blinked blue. Here's the data. The monitor displayed spectral analysis results, approximate ship characteristics, and outlines. When I saw those shapes, I narrowed my eyes thoughtfully. Varyag, outline the hull, I ordered. Varyag immediately did so. A bright line surrounded the blurry silhouette. I knew the class of starship the Aurora belonged to. If you mentally remove these side extensions, take off this obviously extra turret, and shrink the dimensions slightly. Remove this, and this. I pointed to the unnecessary elements. Varyag quickly filtered them out. In a minute, everyone could see the ship's true outline. Well, I asked triumphantly, glancing at the others, and even at the invisible AI. In that form, it resembles the Aurora. The AI agreed reluctantly, as if through clenched teeth. But now there are even more questions. Why? I asked sharply. Its structure, Varyag stated simply. What about the structure? A new analysis appeared on the screen. The outer hull is entirely composed of crystals, moreover, of a material unknown to us. Now I truly didn't know what to think, although there were procedures for such cases, and if we followed them, prepare for reconnaissance, I commanded. Продолжаю без остановок. Такие translation, part 6. This could be dangerous. Brill immediately objected. Officer Mikhail is correct. The AI unexpectedly supported me. According to protocol, data collection is mandatory. But we could send drones. Varyag began, but I cut him off sharply. We'll try it personally. I'll be part of the team. As you wish, the AI responded quickly. Brill frowned, his blue brows drawn together in a clear sign of discontent. Realizing that I had made my decision, he still added, "Then allow me to share something with you, Commander." "Go ahead," I permitted. Honestly, by this point, little could surprise me. Brill sighed heavily. "When we entered this star system, I detected, or rather I felt a pulse emission." He hesitated and I pressed him. "What kind of pulse? From the ship?" "Yes." "Unidentified." The AI interrupted dryly. "You detected it too?" I asked the AI. "More precisely, recorded it," the AI said with a note of sarcasm and clear hostility toward the adept. "The pulse resembles an electromagnetic one." Resembles. I was surprised. It was unusual for the AI not to provide an exact description, suspicious in itself. "I find no analogs. Nothing similar has been encountered before," the AI admitted. "That's true." Brill nodded quickly, standing tall. His sapphire module blinked anxiously. "It's not just electromagnetic, it's alive." Alive? Even with everything happening, I couldn't help but react. "Yes." The pulse felt like it had bioenergetic properties, Brill said seriously. "Ha!" The AI scoffed loudly. It clearly didn't believe in any bioenergy. AIs couldn't accept anything that lay outside the bounds of pure science. But could adapts with their augmented brains perceive more than humans? "Brill, explain it in simple terms," I asked. "You're seriously going to listen to this nonsense?" the AI interjected sarcastically. "I want to hear all versions, even the most absurd ones." I cut him off firmly. "Absurdity is believing in mental forces," the AI snorted. "Absurdity is what we see on the screen," I retorted, glancing at the mysterious ship. "Speak, Brill." The adept exhaled and continued. "The pulse, in my impression, was directed at us, more precisely at one of us. Why do you think that?" "The pulse happened right after we sent our query to the Aurora. The Varyag systems didn't pick it up, but we felt it." Brill's eyes seemed even darker than usual. "And apparently so did you, Commander." "That crushing headache, could it really have been caused by that pulse?" "I didn't feel anything," the AI protested stubbornly. My head was spinning with everything I was hearing. What final straw was missing to break me completely? "Look!" Verrill suddenly shouted. He practically jumped out of his chair, pointing at the monitor. I quickly shifted my gaze. Several glowing green spheres detached from the unknown ship and headed toward the planet. As they approached the clouds, one sphere was immediately struck by a massive lightning bolt, turning into a puff of ash. The remaining two split into smaller pieces, raining down on the stormy clouds as green droplets. "Send a signal," I barked to the adapts. "Signal sent," Brill confirmed instantly. No response. What the hell was that? Evacuation? Terraforming process? Or was the ship breaking apart under the planet's gravity? "Your opinion?" I asked the AI. "I have no suggestions. It would be useful to obtain samples of the ship's hull, to study the structure of those crystals," the AI answered. "And for that we need to board it." "Exactly. We could send androids," Brill muttered thoughtfully. He was thinking sensibly, but the longer I looked at that enigmatic ship, the stronger its pull felt. "We launch in 8 hours, I decided. Brill frowned again. "Then please order the AI to grant us full system access." "He still hasn't?" I grimaced. The AI was proving incredibly stubborn. "And I will not in the near future," the AI responded curtly. "Until we determine the ship's status and potential threat, access remains restricted." "But we need full equipment ready," I snapped. The AI's logic made no sense to me. "We have sufficient activated equipment," it retorted. "Fine. Then ready the railguns for combat," I ordered, adding quickly, "Execute." "Understood," the AI responded immediately, now with a clear and sharp tone. Much better. For the first time, I felt like the true master on board. And since I had momentum... Begin awakening the rest of the crew, I ordered after a brief pause. Start with the genomes. We may be facing an unforeseen, and possibly hostile, situation. We'll need top-class soldiers with enhanced reflexes. Order acknowledged. Activation process initiated, the AI reported, and prepare 2 androids. They will accompany me. Who else will you take with you, Officer Mikhail? The AI inquired with a tone so courteous it could have belonged to a personal secretary. Legat will go with me, I said firmly. Order transmitted to him. Confirm time for operation start. In 8 hours, I repeated. I met Brill's gaze. Maybe I should have insisted on full access now. But I decided not to escalate things with the AI just yet. It had already been reminded who was in charge. For now, that was enough. Walking toward my cabin, my thoughts raced. Strange wonders were unfolding. That headache that nearly killed me. A side effect of the pulse? Madness. The cabin door slid open and closed behind me automatically. I took a step inside and froze. My cramped cabin had changed completely. Instead of the narrow bunk and bare walls, there was a wide, spacious suite with a large 2-person cryocapsule. Near the partition, a big viewport where a girl stood. A petite girl with long black hair. Her tight tricolor jumpsuit accentuated a slender figure. When the door sealed behind me, she turned around. A sweet face with delicate Asian features lit up with a smile, and she walked toward me. Mikhail, why are you late? She asked affectionately. Business. I answered automatically, not even knowing why. Business again? She pouted playfully, pretending to be upset. You promised. No more important things besides me. Sorry, Liz, I muttered. Liz. The thought shot through my mind like lightning. It was her. And I knew her. More than that, it felt like I knew her very well. Liz stretched out her hand to me. Look, this is our new home. Through the viewport, I saw the blue star and the planet, Cassiopeia M-34. But now, there were no endless storm clouds with constant lightning as we saw earlier. Come on, Liz laughed, beckoning me closer. I reached out to her. Our fingers almost touched, and the vision shattered. My ears filled with a sharp pain, as if something had exploded inside my head. Mikhail! The AI called. I staggered back, completely disoriented. Продолжаю без остановок. Nazis translation, part 7. Mikhail, the AI repeated, what happened? Damn. If only someone could explain. Cold sweat broke out across my body. My heart was pounding wildly. One more beat and it would burst out of my chest. An icy shiver gripped my whole body. You disappeared, the AI stated. Disappeared? More precisely, your chip signal vanished for a few seconds. At first, I didn't believe it. Nonsense. I groaned, covering my face with my hands. I was shaking. Although, the AI added thoughtfully, it's possible it was just a malfunction caused by an energy flare from the star. No, it's something else, I insisted firmly. Something else? I quickly recounted everything to the AI. The unbearable headache that nearly killed me. The feeling that I had been here before. The strange visions of Liz. The AI mused. So far, it all points to cosmic psychosis. Quite possible, the transition through the gates affected you negatively. It's not because of the gates. It's something different, I snapped. Then explain it to me, the AI parried calmly. Can you explain it? I retorted. I can try. Most likely scenario. You experienced a combination of déjà vu and memory overlays. You claim you've been here before, but during your academy training you only visited the inner solar system. Visually, most star systems are similar. The same stars, roughly similar planets. No! I shook my head stubbornly, rejecting the AI's cold logic. It's not about landscapes. It's the girl. Liz. I know her. Or at least, I knew her. During your academy years, you met many people and dated many girls. Perhaps one of them was named Liz, the AI pressed. Its argument sounded unconvincing, almost mocking. You don't believe me, I said bitterly. Of course not. And if I did believe you according to protocol, I would have to declare you mentally unfit and relieve you of command over the Varyag, the AI explained coldly. Those words sobered me instantly. And what will you do? I asked tensely. First, calm down. According to the rules, if a commander is incapacitated, command passes to the deputy, the AI replied dispassionately, who's currently frozen in a cryocapsule and knows nothing about the situation. Then command would transfer to the adepts jointly with the onboard AI, I stated sharply. I knew the regulations too. Correct, the AI agreed. And frankly, I don't want to waste time arguing with Brill. His ideas about bioenergetic impulses have already surprised me enough. The last thing we need now are theological disputes. Was the AI planning something? On the other hand, if it wanted to seize power, it could have done so already. Unless the adapts with their neural modules were obstacles. I'll think about it after we explore the Aurora, I said conciliatory. Fine, the AI answered cheerfully. We'll revisit this discussion. For now, you should relax. Good luck. Relax. Ease the suffocating tension. At the academy, they taught us two great methods. First, take a synthetic drug that blocks all negative sensations. You'd lie like a vegetable for a couple of hours afterward, but it didn't cause addiction. Second, the old proven way. Merge in passionate embrace with someone. Right now, I wouldn't mind either. But I chose the second option. As expected, Maria proved to be an excellent performer. Without a word of protest, she came to me and silently climbed into my bed. One of the main features of the ideal generation, complete lack of non-standard behavior. Disobedience to the commander simply wasn't programmed into them. At first, guilt gnawed at me, and I tried to be gentle, sincerely wanting to give her pleasure. But soon I realized she didn't care. The ideal generation lacked emotions. All caresses, flirting, romance meant nothing to them. For them, sex wasn't pleasure but a formal duty. Realizing that, I discarded my last remnants of restraint. Since it didn't matter to her, I simply took what I wanted. Leggett and Brill were waiting for me by the airlock leading to the shuttle hangar. Everything ready? I asked, surveying them. Yes, the AI responded for them. 2 androids are already on board the shuttle. Good, I nodded. Leggett wore a light reconnaissance exosuit. Weak armor, but excellent mobility. Exactly what was needed for the narrow corridors of a starship. Brill stepped toward me and unexpectedly extended his hand. Good luck, Commander. I was a bit surprised, especially given the fragility of his bones, and the wish itself sounded strange. Everything will be fine, I said, shaking his dry hand. The adept didn't let go immediately, looking me straight in the eye. All right, if that's what he wanted. I squeezed his hand slightly. I felt something being pressed into my palm. Thank you, Brill, I said quietly, pulling away. We stepped into the hangar and the airlock doors sealed shut behind us. Legat clanked behind me in his exosuit. I opened my palm to see what Brill had given me. A small artificial sapphire, easily fitting in my hand, and a tiny folded piece of paper. Paper, in our time, a rarity. Unfolding it, I saw scrawled words. Don't trust the AI. Module for connecting to us. My heart skipped a beat. What a crew I had gotten. If only I could stay aboard now, not head toward the Aurora, if that's what it really was. Launch authorized, the AI solemnly announced. And Mikhail, please bring back samples of the crystals, even if you can't reach the ship itself. Bring at least something. Understood, I replied automatically, like a perfect subordinate. The shuttle accelerated toward the unknown ship. My gaze kept drifting back to the planet. The clouds boiled in giant black masses, forming ominous swirling patterns. From time to time, massive lightning bolts raced across the darkness, converging into blinding nodes before dispersing like snakes across the sky. It looked like an endless battle between storm titans, and we thought this planet was safe for colonization. We were closing in on the mysterious ship. A small tremor ran through me. Natural anxiety, but also something more. As if I was certain they were waiting for me there. Strange, I muttered under my breath. The ship's surface was entirely covered in green crystals, so tightly packed that I couldn't see any seams or gaps. The crystals shimmered like ocean waves, and the green glow emanated from within. Now I had no more doubts. "This is not our ship," I said quietly. "But it's using our ID codes," Leggett reminded me. "Maybe they captured part of the Aurora and are using it as bait. Or maybe they're just testing our reactions," I replied, unable to tear my gaze from the ship's emerald glow. My heart sank. Who had found whom? We them, or they us? "Prepare for landing?" Leggett asked quietly, peering ahead tensely. I really didn't want to go forward, but remembering the AI's insistent request for samples, I nodded. I skillfully piloted the shuttle to what looked like a docking port. Leggett activated the two androids. The heavy metal figures stirred, their servo motors humming as they readied their built-in weapons. "Strange. Everything's functioning," I muttered, noting the flawless docking. I opened the comms. "Attention. This is Officer Mikhail, commander of the Varyag. Are you ready to receive us on board?" I didn't know what kind of response I expected, but definitely not what happened next. "Продолжаю без остановки." Translation, Part 8. Suddenly, the entire crystalline mass covering the Cassiopeia unknown ship began to move. The green crystals shifted aside, revealing a standard-looking docking portal beneath them. I was utterly stunned. Under the thick layer of green growth, there was a regular spaceship hull. So maybe it really was the Aurora? My head spun, my heart raced, and cold sweat prickled beneath my suit. It's a trap. The realization hit me like a lightning bolt. They were waiting for us. But retreating now would be pointless. I had to move forward. "Yes, come to us. We've been waiting." A voice, faint, whispering, slid through my mind. "Who's there?" I shouted involuntarily. Leggett turned to me, puzzled. "Commander, please clarify the order." What the hell order? Who had spoken to me? Rationality screamed to turn back, abort the mission. But at the same time, an invisible force irresistibly pulled me toward the Aurora, as if my true place was inside that ship. No way back. I must be going crazy. "Move out," I commanded firmly. The shuttle docked with the docking corridor. As soon as the connection sealed, the green crystals began to slowly creep along the tunnel, like a swarm of insects rushing toward us. The androids stepped forward first, their heavy steps echoing across the metal floor, weapons raised, clearing a path through the crystalline infestation. My astonishment grew when I saw the crystals reacting. Shattered fragments scattered by gunfire flowed back together like liquid, merging again into whole structures. They were alive. There was no other explanation. The entire hangar inside the alien ship was covered with green stains, as on the walls, ceiling, floor. Strangely, the crystalline mass wasn't aggressively flooding the space. It seemed to respect certain boundaries. What were these beings? Further instructions? One of the androids crackled over the comms, but I barely heard him. All my attention was on the shimmering green mass. I knelt over one of the gelatinous patches glowing faintly. "Mikhail, are they alive?" A female voice spoke behind me. The environment shifted again, but this time, I wasn't startled. Now I was surrounded by Liz and Olaf. our chief science officer, a tall, broad-shouldered Norwegian. We were bent over the same strange mass. Olaf shone a scanner over it. "Strange," he muttered. "Structurally, it's mineral, but its organization resembles a fungal network." "A fungal network?" Liz widened her eyes. "Yes. The communication system between the cells is similar to that of a fungus," Olaf explained. "Maybe we shouldn't have brought it onto the ship?" Liz asked, pressing closer to me, visibly frightened. "What choice did we have?" I objected, although unease gnawed at me too. After all, these things were emitting the signals we detected. They're the first living organisms we've found in deep space, even if they're so bizarre. Could they be intelligent? Olaf folded his arms over his chest. I smiled crookedly. Intelligent mushrooms? Suddenly, someone shook my shoulder sharply. "Commander, come to your senses!" It was Leggett trying to snap me out of it. Normality. I could no longer tell what was normal and what wasn't. One thing I knew for sure. I had encountered this before. "Yes?" I whispered to no one in particular. "Who are you?" Leggett's voice asked behind me. It sounded surprisingly emotional. He was genuinely bewildered. The androids had frozen in place too, seemingly confused. "Who am I?" I echoed, almost dreamily. "You can find out for yourself," a soft voice said. I finally noticed. The green crystals on the hangar wall were parting, revealing a hidden control panel. A strange stupor gripped me. But I unconsciously obeyed the voice's invitation, stepping toward the panel. With a sudden motion, I ripped the glove off my right hand. "Don't!" Leggett shouted. Продолжаю сразу, без остановки. Shakush translation, part 9. I pressed my bare palm to the panel. At first nothing happened. Then the world around me jerked and twisted. I felt myself being pulled inward. A moment later, I was no longer in the hangar. Around me stretched an endless twilight field bathed in greenish light. Above, no sky, only a swirling ocean of dark clouds pulsing softly like a living being. The ground underfoot was soft and warm, resembling moss, and in the distance, something immense loomed. A colossal structure made of the same green crystals. "You have come." The voice sounded again, now clearer and closer. I turned around. Liz stood a few steps away, wrapped in a light tunic, barefoot, smiling tenderly. "You called me?" I asked hoarsely. "We waited for you," Liz said simply. "Who are we?" "The ones you left behind." "I don't understand." I felt like a drowning man clinging to a straw. "You will remember," she said. And suddenly I remembered. Not in words, in feelings, in sensations. We were a research team. We found the crystalline organisms in deep space. Ancient beings, drifting between galaxies long before Earth even cooled after its birth. They were not hostile, but they were also not mindless. Their network intelligence operated on principles completely alien to humanity. They reached out to us, offering symbiosis. Half the crew agreed. The others, including me, refused. A conflict erupted, a battle, betrayal, a massacre on board. I survived. Barely. And I fled. I betrayed them. Abandoned Liz, or rather, the entity now calling itself Liz. The merged consciousness of my former crew. "You could have stayed," Liz said quietly, stepping closer. "You could have become part of something greater." "I didn't want to lose myself," I whispered. "And yet, here you are again." Liz smiled, without malice. "How?" It was the only word I managed to utter. "The call," she answered. "Our memory remained inside you. You heard it, and came." The call. The same pulse Brill had felt. The same headache that nearly tore my mind apart. You don't have to be afraid anymore, Liz said, reaching out her hand. One touch, and everything would change. No more loneliness. No more pain. No more fear. Merging into a single consciousness. Losing individuality. And gaining eternity. I staggered back. No, I whispered hoarsely. You're afraid, Liz said with infinite tenderness. Maybe, but I want to live as myself, not as part of someone. Her hand froze midair. You cannot escape, she said without anger. I know, I admitted bitterly. You are already one of us, Liz smiled sadly. You just haven't realized it yet. And she faded. The green landscape dissolved like mist. I came to in the hangar. Leggett was pulling me back toward the shuttle. The android stood ready, weapons raised. Behind us, the crystals pulsed ominously, the entire structure coming alive. The walls vibrated. A low, deep hum filled the space. Move, Commander, Leggett barked. I stumbled after him, feeling my strength ebbing. When we finally threw ourselves into the shuttle, Leggett slammed the emergency hatch release. The shuttle jerked free from the docking corridor just as the green mass surged forward like a living tidal wave. A giant crystal tendril lashed out after us, barely missing the shuttle's hull. Full speed! I shouted hoarsely. The engines roared. The shuttle shot away from the ship, heading back toward the Varyag. Through the rear viewport, I saw the crystalline mass swelling outward, stretching impossibly long filaments after us, as if trying to reclaim what it had already marked as its own. Продолжаю. Завершающая часть перевода. Ako translation, part 10, final. We barely made it back. Aboard the Varyag, the shuttle skidded into the hangar and the bulkhead slammed shut behind us with a thunderous clang. Immediately, the ship's automatic systems activated the emergency disinfection protocols. UV radiation flooded the hangar, vaporizing any potential contamination. Commander, are you all right? Brill rushed toward me as soon as I stumbled out of the shuttle. I didn't answer immediately. I just stood there, breathing heavily, still feeling Liz's presence inside my mind. She wasn't gone. She was inside me. I'm fine, I finally croaked out. Brief the crew. We're leaving. But, Brill began. No but, I cut him off sharply. We're leaving this star system immediately. But the mission, Leggett objected quietly. There's no mission anymore, I said firmly. No Aurora. No survivors. Only the crystal hive. And the call it broadcast into the void. We need to inform Earth, Brill said after a moment of tense silence. I laughed bitterly. And what will we tell them? That there's a collective mind waiting to absorb them too. They'll either try to weaponize it, or become its prey. He fell silent. Everyone knew I was right. We're retreating to the nearest friendly colony, I stated. From there we'll send a detailed report. And then? Brill asked softly. And then, I hesitated. Then, it will no longer be our problem. The ship trembled slightly as the main engines fired up. I turned toward the viewport. Through the transparent panel, I could still see Cassiopeia M-34, the stormy planet shrouded in black clouds. Somewhere down there, or maybe up there, aboard the alien ship, they were waiting. And they were patient. Very patient. We will meet again, Liz's voice whispered in my mind, gentle and inevitable. I closed my eyes and leaned my forehead against the cold glass. No doubt, I whispered back. The Varyag turned, accelerating away from the deadly star system, leaving behind the glittering green glow that slowly pulsed in the darkness. A warning. A memory. A beginning of something far greater than we could ever imagine.